I'm Richard Friedman, and welcome to my cartoon video for February 14th, 2025. Happy Valentine's Day to you folks. Now, here is my cartoon for today. Here we have President Putin here. Here he is, President Putin, Russian President Putin. And here we have him with his Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov. That's the Foreign Minister. We've seen him a lot. Although we've seen him at the UN quite a bit there. And here we have President Trump's Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. Now, here's what Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has said regarding Ukraine. He was at a conference. Basically, he was at the NATO headquarters on Wednesday. He was at NATO headquarters on Wednesday, and he socked it out to those NATO folks out there, telling him where America stands on Ukraine. Now, he said this. This is almost word for word. This is what he said. There he is. We must start by recognizing that returning to Ukraine's pre-2014 borders is an unrealistic objective. The United States does not believe NATO membership for Ukraine is a realistic outcome. Does not believe it is a realistic outcome of a negotiated settlement. So he's putting it right down on the table and says it's unrealistic for us to begin to even talk to the Russians about Ukraine getting back all of its land. It's very unrealistic to talk about that. It's unrealistic to talk about Ukraine wanting to join NATO and making steps in that direction. Very unrealistic, okay? And also, it's unrealistic for Ukraine to expect America to send military troops, to get troops on the ground there fighting in Ukraine against Russia or any other invading force. That's very unrealistic. Again, if Ukraine is kept out of joining NATO and America stays with NATO, then America doesn't have to defend Ukraine, because if Ukraine is with NATO and they're attacked and they break the agreement, then America would have to step in. This way, if they're not a member of NATO, we don't have to step in military. And basically, Pete Hegseth is saying, okay, let the European countries protect Ukraine. Okay, let them protect. Let them do what they have to do to protect, as long as it's not under the umbrella of NATO. Okay, so that's where he's coming from, and he's also saying, Secretary of Defense Hegseth is saying, and I've heard other things. He didn't say this here, but he said this in other scenarios, in another situation. He said, "Well, we're making a pivot now from Ukraine to protecting, basically, from Chinese aggression. So we're gonna concentrate now on Chinese, on defending America, indirectly, yes, defending America, but initially defending the Taiwan and even Vietnam. Well, I don't know about. I'm not going to say because stuff I don't really know for sure. But there's a lot of problems there, territorial disputes going on there. Aside from Taiwan, there's a lot of other territorial disputes that with China that other countries have in that area, and they've been very active on the South China Sea, doing some things that were not right. Now, the thing is that's their reasoning, that we're going to shift our emphasis here and say bye bye Ukraine, and that's what it comes down to. Hello to South China Sea and into that area. Okay, so the problem here, I'm just going to say I don't want to inject myself, but I'm going to say one thing that to rely on the Europeans, because there's so much volatility in leadership in all these countries in Europe that's going on, France and Germany, and there's so many. One leader this day, next day it could be somebody else, and everything is in turmoil, not stabilized. It's very, very volatile, the leadership change. So you can make a deal, and tomorrow another leader comes in and says, we're wiping our hands of Ukraine. We're not going to defend it anymore. So if you don't have NATO, what stabilized guarantee can you give Ukraine? You see, I don't see how you can offer Ukraine a security blanket without the cover of NATO. I don't see how you can do it. Because, as I said, all these countries are changing leadership, and the parties taking over, this party, that party, this party are taking over, and everything is just, it's just like shifting sand. So that's that's the only opinion I'm going to inject here. Now, so this is what Pete, that was kind of like a tangent here, but this is what fundamentally he said here at this point. He did say that it's unrealistic outcome of a negotiated settlement having NATO membership for Ukraine, and for Ukraine to have any expectations of getting back any land that it lost to Russia already. Okay, now here comes Lavrov here, Foreign Minister Lavrov, okay, and he's watching this with Russian President Putin, and he's saying, President Putin, Pete is better than 10,000 North Korean troops. All we have to do is move west for more territory with no NATO. So here we got him going west here. You see, it's branching out. These are branches moving west, and there's no NATO, and there's no United States, because we're backdropping, going over to the South China Sea and putting our efforts over there. So it's wide open territory now. I think the Wild West. You know, here we're going to the Wild West. Going west, go west, young man, go west. You know, so that's what he's advising Putin here, President Putin. Go west, President Putin. Go west. You know, that's easy to say about the Americans. Go out west when the American was opening up to the west, many back in the 1800s. You know, during the gold rush. Go west, get that gold. You know, so here you have Lavrov saying that to Putin, watching this presentation by Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense. And then Putin retorts back to Lavrov, and he says this: Trump is better than 20,000 North Koreans, with his Canada becoming the 51st state. And then Lavrov says this. He goes, true, Canada is about 17 times bigger than Ukraine. Duh. So duh means yes. You see? So if Trump's talking about taking over Canada, becoming the 51st state of the Union, right? You know, where they are, and that's 17 times larger than Ukraine. So what we're taking is like a baseball field. You know, I won't go that far, but I'm just saying. So there it is. You see, this is the scenario here, and this is what. And there's the Russian flag over here. I just could go by him one more time here. And I will say, now, I want to say one other thing, that a House Democrat said, a little criticism here, a House Democrat said Trump and his Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, literally appear to be negotiating on behalf of Russian President Vladimir Putin and have already handed the Kremlin victories before the official talks have even started. So he's saying basically, well, it's like walking into a dealership, a car dealership, and say, I love that SUV over there. I got to have that SUV. Here's my, I'm ready to write my check for $90,000, maybe 95 even. I'll give you 95,000, ready to go. And then the dealership looks at him and says, well, it's a good starting point. It's a good starting point. 95 grand is a good starting point. I'm going to make it. I'm not going to say nothing. I don't want to get into trouble with any of the automobile companies. I can make some jokes there, but I ain't going to do that. So anyway, here it is. That and so that's an analogy that could be made there. That you're just telling there's no negotiation, and up front you're giving away. You're showing your hand. You're showing your hand. This is what we're willing to do for you. And people have said, who are professional diplomats who have gone through the this type of situation with Russia before, have said that once you give them something, they just use that as a basis for wanting more. So here it is. This is them wanting more here in this cartoon. That's the principle of this cartoon, is that once you give away that, and say Ukraine says, well, without NATO, we can't. The argument is that these countries, who's going to become leader next month, one party in European, over in Europe, we can't depend on. We always depended on the United States. So, and now there's no NATO, and the United States would not be for us and obligated to help us. And so we can't accept this. So Zelensky said he wants to be there as part of the negotiations. So suppose the negotiation falls through. Now Putin walks, and Zelensky don't go along with it because he says he's going to be there. And then what happens if everybody goes home and then Putin decides, Russian President Putin decides, well, the United States is with us, President Trump is with us on board, let's go all out. And really sock it to them because they're not going to I know Trump ain't going to be sending him no more weapons, no more of those long-range missiles that go boom, no more of them coming at us. So we don't got to worry about that. And they're going to run out of parts and spare parts and all kind of training for these equipment and all that business is going down the tubes. So all we got to do now is just go west, young, go west, go west, and that's what Lavrov's saying here. Go west. Putin, go west. And that's and there it is. There's your arrows here going out west. Okay, so I've given you one side of the coin. I always try to give you the other side of the coin. Here is the other side of the coin. Now, Pete Hegseth has retorted back to this criticism of basically giving this stuff away and caving in. Basically, he's saying that this is not appeasement, because it was called appeasement. This is not appeasement, by saying before President Donald Trump, there was no negotiations. Putin is only willing to negotiate now because Putin responds to strength. This is the strength. Putin isn't looking to take any more stuff. He's just responding to President Trump's strength, the strength of President Trump that he sees in him, and he responds to strength, and that's what's happening here. And before President Trump, all we were doing was just sending weapons over there, and they were taking they were making progress here, and it was very close to being a stalemate, and the Russians were being very aggressive, and the Ukrainians took some land over there in Russia, and things were you could say they were at a stalemate. So now we're not sending any more weapons. We're saving all this money and everything. The argument in terms of we're saving all this money. So look at all the money we're saving by not sending that to Ukraine, all that stuff, just for a stalemate. Now we have a strong leader, President Trump, who Putin respects, and as I said, indicated before, President Putin always responds to strength, and this is strength on the part of President Donald J. Trump. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that. I've given you both arguments, and folks, like I always say, you decide where you want to go. Okay, again, happy Valentine's Day, and may God watch over all our troops stationed all over the world. God bless you. God bless America. And I'll see you next time. Bye.